Stay tuned because we're diving straight back into this developing story. We are witnessing a full-blown state-sponsored slaughter unfolding across the Islamic Republic of Iran right now. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei knows deep down that this uprising is fundamentally different from anything in the past, and that terror explains exactly why Iranian security forces are now exterminating protesters at a scale and velocity we have simply never seen before in modern history. The digital Iron Curtain has fallen completely. The nationwide internet remains severed, and reports are now confirming that regime operatives are actively hunting down citizens, attempting to bypass the blackout using Starlink satellite terminals. This total information blackout proves that the regime is desperate to hide its atrocities, making the task of verifying specific crimes and tracking the movements of Iranian freedom fighters increasingly difficult for the outside world. Despite the blockade, a chilling distress signal broke through yesterday with a simple plea: tell the world. They opened fire on everyone this past Friday. They just mowed them down with machine guns. The unredacted text paints a nightmarish scene. They are liquidating the entire town, massacring people's children in the streets. This is the handiwork of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Local officers reportedly tried to flee the carnage without fighting back for even 5 minutes, but they were gunned down where they stood. We are talking about 20 people dead in that single incident. The source claims, "On day one, I personally dragged 5 corpses to the clinic right in front of me. Tell everyone." By Friday, the bullets were flying everywhere, leaving an estimated 50 souls dead in the dust. "My connection is severed every 500 seconds," the source wrote. While the raw translation from the original Farsi might seem disjointed, the urgency is unmistakable. The core message is crystal clear to anyone paying attention. Iranian security forces have been given the green light to unleash absolute hell on earth. While that specific SOS call refers to a single besieged city or region, make no mistake, this systematic purge is happening simultaneously in provinces all across the nation. I can confirm this widespread crackdown because Iranian state-run television is currently broadcasting ominous warnings directly to parents, practically threatening them to keep their children under lock and key. The regime's ultimatum is terrifying. If your children step outside and get slaughtered, you have no right to grieve or complain to the authorities. That is the horrific stance of a government at war with its own population. Just listen to the rhetoric they are using. We will be right back with the audio, but I want you to pay close attention to this announcement. First, they are rallying their base, issuing a call to arms for the Basij militia members and every radical loyalist within the so-called revolutionary nation of Hezbollah. They are framing this as a holy war, asking, "Is there any helper for the imam of the era in these days?" as they claim to be marching towards some significant cosmic transformation of the world. The directive for tonight is explicit. Every mosque and military base must be packed to the rafters with Hezbollah youth religious hardliners and anyone claiming to defend God's religion. For the ordinary civilians, the order is strict. Tonight, mothers and fathers must physically hold onto their children's hands and refuse to let go. Extended family is being deputized too. Uncles and aunts are told to call immediately if they suspect any young relative is getting distracted or thinking about joining the descent. The warning is blunt: do not come out. If tragedy strikes, if someone gets hurt, or if a stray bullet finds a target, do not come crying to us later. You have been warned. They are justifying this by claiming they have already survived days of sedition from hypocrites and weathered the brutal hardships of the 8-year war in the past. We will return in just a moment with more on this developing situation. Before I read you these harrowing eyewitness accounts, I need to underscore how incredibly difficult it is to independently verify anything coming out of Iran right now due to the total information vacuum. The internet is dead. The regime is hunting down Starlink satellite users door to door, doing everything in their power to stop the truth from leaking out. However, according to reports from Iran, international security forces are utilizing lethal force against unarmed protesters in every corner of the country. Graphic footage smuggled out to the organization depicts a gruesome scene of rows upon rows of bodies zipped into black cadaver bags. Witnesses reviewing the clip say dozens of corpses are clearly visible on the ground, with disturbing reports indicating even more bodies are being stacked in a nearby industrial warehouse. We are also seeing video evidence emerging from Fardis Karaj and Al-Ghadir in eastern Tehran, showing citizens dropping dead in the streets, proving this is a calculated nationwide massacre, not isolated incidents. Conservative estimates suggest that at least 2,000 people have been killed in just the last few hours alone. That body count is piled up just in the short window since the regime pulled the plug on the internet. A doctor in the north confided to Iran International that a single hospital facility received at least 70 bodies. I want to emphasize two critical points here. That figure of 2,000 dead is the low-end estimate. I have seen credible reports suggesting the death toll has already hit 4,000 in just the last 48 hours. To put this carnage into perspective, remember November of 2019, when massive economic protests erupted inside Iran. The government responded then with the same playbook, launching a slaughter to crush the movement, killing roughly 1,500 citizens. At the time, that was the highest number of fatalities during an uprising, a dark period now remembered as Bloody November. That was previously the deadliest crackdown by the Islamic regime, but they have already eclipsed that grim record in just the past 2 days. They have killed thousands, and the slaughter is continuing as we speak. But when we look at the protesters, one thing becomes undeniable. It shows just how terrified the Ayatollah is, and it proves that this specific movement is far more existential and dangerous to the regime than anything that came before. Is this unlike anything we have ever seen, not entirely given the precedent of Bloody November in 2019? But the dynamic has shifted, because people are now bravely using their personal social media accounts, posting under their real names and showing their uncovered faces to the world. The barrier of fear has been shattered. They are no longer afraid to speak their truth out loud. President Trump, we need your help. That is the desperate cry coming from the people of Iran right now. And I will tell you exactly why they are asking. Because this is a war. The regime has effectively declared open warfare against its own citizens. At the exact moment they severed the internet, Ali Khamenei was still posting on the very same social media platform from which they have banned 18 million people. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei isn't just watching from the sidelines. He has actively taken to Twitter to greenlight the mass slaughter of his own people. The citizens on the ground are digging in their heels, refusing to back down, and you have to ask yourself, are we finally witnessing the last days of this dictatorship? The answer is a resounding yes, and he knows it. That paralyzing fear of his regime collapsing is exactly why he is signing off on these brutal, widespread massacres. That is precisely why he has pulled the plug on the entire country, enforcing a total information blackout that has everyone on edge about what is happening in the dark. Desperate to hold on to power, the Ayatollah has now authorized the military to deploy combat drones against unarmed civilians in the streets. These unmanned surveillance birds are circling overhead under the cover of darkness, tracking protest movements, and capturing high-resolution facial recognition data of every dissenter. Then the 4:00 a.m. raids begin. They kick down doors and drag people away. Reports from The Guardian suggest at least 2,300 citizens have already been snatched up. Let's be clear, these aren't just standard bookings. In Khamenei's twisted view, these protesters are waging war against God, which is effectively a guaranteed one-way ticket to the gallows. In the Islamic Republic, that charge fast-tracks you to death row, but it looks like the regime isn't even waiting for show trials to start the killing. Just last night, we received terrifying confirmation that the IRGC has positioned military snipers on rooftops and high-rise buildings. These sharpshooters started treating the city streets like a shooting gallery, picking off protesters at random. We are talking about hundreds of lives extinguished in Tehran alone. A whistleblower inside a local hospital told the British Broadcasting Corporation that their facilities are completely overrun and they have literally run out of space in the morgue. The situation is so grim that staff have been forced to stack the corpses of the slain, one on top of another, just to clear the hallways. When the cold storage hit capacity, they started piling bodies in the prayer rooms. One insider described a massacre on a scale that dwarfs every previous uprising we have seen in recent history. They are mowing down Iranians, young students, and the elderly alike, dropping them in the streets like autumn leaves covering the ground. The situation on the ground is deteriorating by the minute, and we are working around the clock to verify these reports and get the unvarnished truth out to you. Look, covering these authoritarian regimes puts a target on our back, and the platform doesn't always make it easy. Do us a huge favor and smash that subscribe button below to keep this channel alive. It really helps us beat the algorithm suppression. Now, let's get back to the streets because intel suggests this violence is going to spike severely over the next few days. According to Iranian state television, which remember is the only propaganda allowed on air inside the country right now, the narrative is shifting aggressively. The regime's mouthpiece is currently running a specialized segment designed to twist the reality of what is happening and gaslight the population. They are no longer calling them citizens. The state has rebranded these unarmed protesters as armed terrorists to justify extreme military action. This is a massive escalation in rhetoric from just 48 hours ago when the supreme leader was merely dismissing them as rioters or troublemakers. It is a calculated psychological move to dehumanize these kids in the eyes of the public, making it easier for the military to pull the trigger without remorse. This narrative cover allows the slaughter to continue in the shadows. Speaking of staying connected, we need to talk about the critical situation regarding Starlink satellite units. Reports indicate there are somewhere between 40,000 and 50,000 Starlink terminals currently active in Iran, serving as the only bridge to the outside world. 50,000 might sound like a decent number, but in a nation of 92 million people, it is barely a drop in the bucket. We saw millions flooding the streets just 2 nights ago, so 50,000 units is nowhere near enough to keep the revolution online and coordinated. Now intelligence suggests the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is actively hunting down these terminals and the brave people operating them. They aren't treating this as a tech violation anymore. Holding unauthorized satellite gear is now classified as a top-tier national security threat. When the regime kills the fiber optics and cell towers during a blackout, those active satellite uplinks stand out like a flare in the night sky. The moment someone powers up a Starlink dish, the Wi-Fi signal acts like a homing beacon for the regime's enforcement squads. Once they identify a hotspot, they swarm the area, tightening checkpoints, activating neighborhood snitches, and treating the zone like a hostile terror cell. The price for getting online is lethal. And the tragic reality is that these brutal suppression tactics are actually working to silence the population. New reports confirm the government is successfully severing the digital lifelines and choking off the flow of information to the West. We are seeing significantly fewer clips uploaded today compared to the last 48 hours, but the footage that is smuggling its way out tells a harrowing story. Take a look at these clips we managed to verify from Paran and downtown Tehran, showing the sheer scale of the unrest on the screens right now. You can see massive crowds lighting up the night with their cell phones chanting anti-regime slogans in total defiance of the military curfew. They are forced to use their phone torches because the authorities have deliberately cut the power grid to these districts to punish the neighborhoods. Despite the darkness and the danger, the crowds aren't thinning out. In fact, new factions are stepping up to join the fight against the administration. A major coalition of Iranian, Azerbaijani, and Turkish political groups just released a joint statement that could completely change the game. They are calling on the entire Turkish population within Iran to fully commit to the uprising and take to the streets immediately. Considering the Azerbaijani Turks are one of the largest ethnic blocs in the country, this signals a massive escalation toward a nationwide multi-ethnic revolution. Meanwhile, the Kurdistan Freedom Party has announced they are no longer just protesting. They are launching kinetic attacks on IRGC military bases. They have claimed a responsibility for a targeted assault that left at least 3 regime operatives critically wounded. Make no mistake, these aren't disorganized rioters. This is a battle-hardened group that knows exactly how to fight back against the state. We're talking about seasoned operators here, battle-hardened veterans with a long track record of taking the fight directly to ISIS insurgents throughout the Syrian theater and across multiple other volatile fronts. Furthermore, these units have a history of coordinating closely with American forces on the ground in Syria. While their headcount might not be massive, make no mistake, they are a lethal and formidable fighting force. And naturally, the United States is deeply involved in this equation. President Trump took to social media late last night, declaring that the Iranian people are yearning for liberty like never before, and emphasizing that the United States of America stands ready to assist in that pursuit. Now, to a lot of observers, that might just sound like standard rhetoric from the Oval Office, another bold statement in a long line of them. However, the real headline grabber here is the bombshell report just dropped by the Wall Street Journal, which changes the calculus completely. According to that report, the administration has officially kicked off preliminary discussions in the Situation Room regarding potential strike packages against Iran, detailing specific targets. One of the heavy-hitting options being debated involves a massive aerial bombardment focused on Iranian military assets. The New York Times is corroborating this, stating that President Trump has been briefed on these new military options and is giving them serious consideration. The president has been presented with a menu of tactical choices, including strikes on sensitive non-military infrastructure right in the heart of Tehran. This is being framed as a direct response to the brutal crackdown the Iranian regime has unleashed on its own citizens during the recent wave of protests. Some of the more aggressive strategies on the table involve directly targeting the command and control nodes of Iran's internal security services. The report also notes that top brass at CENTCOM are urging for a bit of tactical patience before pulling the trigger. We can only hope this plays out in a way that actually supports the freedom fighters on the streets, and that a decisive call is made sooner rather than later. Fortunately, intelligence suggests that the regime in Tehran is not taking these threats lightly. They are clearly rattled by the news coming out of Washington. In fact, the Iranian foreign minister was actually in the middle of a high-level economic tour in Lebanon, attending crucial diplomatic meetings when the news broke. It was supposed to be a standard economic summit. He was sitting down with Lebanese officials, but he abruptly cut the trip short and is already wheels up flying back to Tehran as we speak. Now, obviously, in the world of geopolitics, a sudden departure like that could be triggered by a dozen different factors. With the amount of internal chaos unfolding inside Iran right now, he could be rushing home for any number of crises. But it definitely signals one thing to us. It signals a major disruption to their agenda, meaning something critical is going down inside the country. Right now, we want to pivot our focus to the activity on the Iranian border. Reports are flooding in that the United States of America executed strikes against ISIS targets within Syria just last night. I am absolutely certain that this kinetic action serves as a crystal clear message to Tehran. They need to take a long, hard look at that firepower. We have more details coming in right now on this breaking story. The United States has officially launched a new offensive operation inside Syria. Good afternoon, everyone. Defense officials are confirming that this operation is a direct retaliation for the tragic loss of those two Iowa National Guard soldiers and the American interpreter last month. If you recall the timeline in Syria, we saw that initial wave of punishing airstrikes targeting Islamic State positions back on December 19th. That night, the sky was filled with American air power utilizing F-15 Strike Eagles A-10 Warthogs and Army Apache helicopters to rain down ordnance. We are still waiting on official confirmation regarding the specific platforms used in this latest round, but it is safe to assume, folks, that those heavy assets remain on station in the region. You can bet there's always a squadron of F-15 Strike Eagles ready to roll at a moment's notice. The regime is clearly digging in its heels, and they won't go down without a fight. We all hope the bloodshed ends soon. We will keep tracking this story and bring you updates right here on the network. Make sure you smash that subscribe button down below to stay in the loop. I'm Sam, and I will catch you in the next broadcast. Now, there's a major issue with producing content like this, especially when we show raw footage of drone strikes. Even when no humans are visible, it still triggers the algorithms. YouTube almost immediately moves to demonetize or slap age restrictions on our reporting, burying the video. Just in the last week alone, we have had 4 of our war reports completely demonetized by the platform. According to their guidelines, showing the visceral reality of drone warfare or frontline combat scares away advertisers, so they suppress the content. But let's be real, this is the ugly truth of modern warfare, and this is the existential fight the Ukrainians are living through every single day. We believe it is critical to document this history uncensored, which is why we launched our own independent platform, Basics Insider, built from the ground up with zero restrictions. We don't have to blur out the drone impacts, the trench warfare, or the destruction of Russian air bases to appease corporate policy. Furthermore, we don't run a single ad on the site. That means we never have to self-censor just because some brand manager gets uncomfortable with the footage. The entire operation is funded strictly by your support, not by ad revenue. So, if you are the type of person who values unfiltered coverage, wants to see our videos without the censorship, and wants access to the extra intel we can't post here, then come join the ranks over at basicsinsider.com. You can click the link in the description below or just scan that QR code on your screen to unlock our full archive and all future reports. Joining up directly supports our ability to keep bringing you the truth. Thank you so much for watching.